All right, this particular video, again, gotten several. It's funny how many random requests we got from a multitude of angles. Um, this one is basically the question as far as from a Christian standpoint. Um, why do you think this is more Christian than just doing the normal thing? Good question. And again, this isn't to say, hey guys, I figured out this great new way, you need to do what I do. No, you got to figure that out for yourself. I just recently at the coffee shop that my wife runs and I run, um, talked to some people this past weekend on that exact same thing. You can't teach wisdom. We lived in New York City from 2009 until 2012. I don't think it's in our best interest to go back to New York City, but we learned a great deal there in a good way. I mean, honestly, if you told me right now, hey James, you're off grid. Oh, okay, cool. Hey James, you're in the middle of Manhattan. Okay, cool. For whatever reason, good or bad, I'm pretty cool with it. I mean, I enjoyed New York City, and before the whole COVID thing, I mean, we pretty much tried to go back quite a bit. But go ahead and jump to the forefront. But what I will say really quick before I forget, the lollards.org, the Lollards. I probably should have picked a different term. LOLLARDS.org. The Lollards is John Wycliffe. Anyway, that has the booklet, Why Labrie, Why Off Grid, that you can just click on. You can read it. It's 8 pages. Surely everyone can do 8 pages, but it gives a little bit more clarity there. But a lot of it, and again, keep in mind, this is kind of the beginning stages. If you look back at some of the other videos, you can see what is off the grid. Well, I never really planned on this. I mean, if you think about like in the 90s when I was like on my parents' property, I wanted to get out of here. I didn't like gardening. I didn't like any of this stuff. So, I wouldn't say it's prodigal, but I mean, I kind of went out there, learned life. Again, you can't teach wisdom. Now, 30 years later, I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to come back. Why? I don't know. I'm figuring that out. We'll see what happens. But as far as that question, from a Christian standpoint, you can go into, and obviously, oh, here it is. I thought I forgot it. It's funny, this one book somebody gave me, You Can Survive, a book designed for people living off grid. It is funny, though, from a Christian perspective. Basically, they go through case after case on all these different examples of from the Bible. David. God didn't say, "Hey, I need to get you to the city." Abraham, no, get away from the city. Lot went to the city. Abraham was like, get out. David, get out. Go to the caves. Figure out life. You kind of see this reoccurring theme. Moses, get out. Go to the desert. Jesus, get out. So I think there is some. Basically, that author makes several references to that point. I think they're actually valid. Another point, again, I'm not saying we're kind of figuring this out as we go. So hopefully the channel, again, I could care less if we have more than. I would rather, you can look at my published works. I would much rather have 10 very like, hey, we need help. Well, I'll do what I can, through prayer and, Lord willing, as opposed to, oh, you got 1 million followers that don't really care. Oh, give me the 10 good ones. I mean, look at Jesus. I mean, 12 apostles, and one of those had betrayed him. But most people that come here, I always give, because they were getting rid of them for 50 cents each. Christian History and Biography, A Devoted Life, just kind of on some of the monastic movements. Again, super cheap. I give these away too. Francis Schaeffer, biography. A lot of the Labrie here is what we're kind of modeling. And then lastly, separation and nonconformity. This is a very good picture of, like I kind of cover in those little booklets on the lollards.org, basically on saying what the Barna study from just over 10 years ago called, from David Kinnaman, unchristian. Basically, they couldn't tell any difference between a Christian and a non-Christian. And in some ways, the non-Christian actually lived a more quote-unquote Christian, hence biblical, life. So that really got me to thinking, like, what are we doing as far as just the Christian questions concerned? If you're not Christian and you don't care about that, then this particular video is totally not for you. But from an existential standpoint, and again, I've went into the Lion's Den many times, many universities, on some of the videos you've seen on apologetics that I've covered, as well as the writings. But long story short, I believe that to answer that question, I just, and me speaking personally, when I'm out here, it is weird how just hearing, and this is just a few minutes ago, listening to the crickets, listening to the birds in the distance, listening to the frogs in the pond, the whole Zen garden thing, that was more relaxing, more telling than a lot of sermons I've been to. Like, you just feel God's presence out here. So again, I think that is kind of the why off-grid. And again, like I've said in these other videos, Brian, he has no interest in going off-grid. Christian, yes. Corporateman, yes. He doesn't want to leave the corporate life, but he's going to try to do the RV thing. Scott, Christian, yes. Even older, 55. He'll be 56 this summer. He's actually got more of a vocation. He's leaving to try to be more centered. And I don't think it's a coincidence if you listen to the Anthony Mellos, when they say, when he says something as a Christian, he says, when you start to say, wait a minute, either I'm crazy or the rest of the world is crazy, I mean, that is a little bit of what they call satori, enlightenment, waking up. Alan Watts, even though he was a Episcopal or Anglican priest for a while, he wasn't really Christian. But he said this whole concept of waking up was what, he died in 1972, I believe, is what led him away from Christianity. Well, no, Christianity is the waking up. But I don't think you're going to find that behind a desk trying to accrue more money. I mean, when you look through the Bible as far as money and wealth, 90+% of it ain't good. It's not sitting there saying, like, I'm not going to pick names, Joel Osteen. No, I'm kidding. But you're not going to be able to build a very good biblical case for accruing wealth, doing the Western thing, the American dream. No, that's all a myth. Burn it. Forget about it. Wake up. And I think that is, again, instead of just like going on and on about that, I would say that is it in a nutshell. That's what we're trying to figure out. I'm not saying by any means we're going to have all the answers. We'll see what happens. I think there's some exciting things around the corner. And hopefully we'll be able to share that with you. If you like it, take what you like, throw away what you don't like. Again, we're just kind of sharing our own journey here, and Lord willing, by doing this, we can spare you some of the pitfalls we went through, and again, lead you, and us. Not to sound selfish, my main goal is to draw closer to Christ. Well, who do you want to lead to Christ? Me. Well, who else? Me, and me. Well, James, that's kind of selfish. Yeah, it is. So when you're trying to reach that goal, and that goal is Christ, I don't think it's that selfish. But I do feel that at least I should say, here's some breadcrumbs. Here's what I got wrong. Here's what I got right. Take it or leave it. But on the question, why do you think this versus staying behind the cubicle and getting a lot of money is the best way to Christ? Well, this is it. And again, maybe I'm wrong. We'll see how it goes as they come. But again, enough ramblings. Hopefully that kind of helps. We'll see what happens.
Right, I'm just now starting to halfway turn my attention to what was supposed to be Gina's Zen Garden. Now it's becoming more like Gina's not so zen swamp. But if I can beat the rain, it is almost walkable, which you're like thinking, okay, big deal. Last year's bridge, waiting out in that muck is always fun. Done. We may come back at night, see if the solar's still working. Need to move the brush pile a little bit. Yes, a little bit rocky. That stump, gotta take that out. Gotta dig more rocks, cut a few more trees so she can have a beautiful look at the swamp. Just kidding. The spring that keeps feeding in. Put the little bridge here. Whoa. So at least that's problem solved. Up here, obviously, gotta get some rocks out of the way again. But at least solved the, at least for now. Again, a little bit muddy, so many roots, and then the decline here. I don't think there's much other way to do it, so ended up just driving a 5-foot metal pike all the way into the ground. Some board under this. I'm no carpenter, but, and then there's 2 at the front. So far she doesn't budge, so don't get too good of a running start or you'll go right off. Whoop, quick left. Some of these stumps and the roots, who knows what we're gonna do with it. Thankfully, the spillway I dug out is actually mostly working. Put a ton of snake repellent, tick, bug, all the above. See if those are working later. Not bad walking, just have to move some rocks, which won't be that big of a deal. Cleared most of the way from when there was cattle here, and they kind of ruined the embankment, created another spillway. We've got it stopped, but obviously that's less than smooth walking. That's gonna have to be covered with dirt, not that big a deal. And then on the additional spillway, which we've mostly stopped up, I was like, you know what, let's just do another bridge. I still have to add some dirt, but at least that makes it, other than the one big set of rocks, mostly walkable. So we'll see what happens. All right, here we are. Same place, but at night. Hopefully I don't step on a snake. I put snake repellent all over these trails, so we'll see. I don't know, some of these lights aren't working anymore. You can see some of them working across the way. There's a bunch of them are not working. Oh well, big surprise. At least those seem to be working. All right, let's see if I can make my way around this thing. Watch for the snappers and the snakes. It's not quite so zen when it's dark. You don't know where you're going. Whoop. At least on a good note, it's mostly walkable. Can I see the way? A little focus. Yeah. A little too dark. Oh, don't fall in the pond. It's not that dark, but it does look super dark. Whoop. Hold on. Let's see what's going on with this one. Oh, here's the stairs. It's weird, it's not that dark, but it definitely looks like it on the camera. There's a few of these lamps that no longer works. We just passed 2. So be wary when it says solar, works in all weather, because the ones that aren't working, I opened up and they were all corroded. Oh, one of them came on. Oh, oh. Oh, there's the bridge. Oh well, Gina. Getting closer. But I still don't feel very zen. I feel a little bit more concerned that I'm going to step on a copperhead or a cottonmouth.